The movie begins with a man telling a kid named Curly that there's an island where only children live. And there's no sleep, no rules at all for kids. There's nothing but play and jumping around. A few days later, we see that Curly's name is written in the missing children section, and this section is right next to a certain circus where kids always get kidnapped. Now we see at this circus there's a clown who's really focused on a certain kid named James. He goes up to him and gives him a balloon. When he gave him the balloon, the kid was really happy, and all the kids around him were jealous. Later, James went home, and after sleeping for a bit, he found someone coming up from under the floor. The boy was terrified and ran to call his mother, but the man said, "No, don't go to your mom. I just want to talk to you because I'm lonely and need to talk to a sweet kid like you." To reassure him, he told him, "My name is Peter, and by the way, I'm the one who gave you the balloon today." When James realized he was the clown from the circus, he felt safe and went up to him, told him his name, and they talked for a while until Peter said, "Would you like to come with me? There's an amazing place where only kids live. No moms or dads. Just like I told you before. I've been looking for a kid like you to come with me because I don't want to go alone." Meanwhile, James's mom started to hear someone talking outside, so she rushed out to see who was there. As soon as Peter saw James's mom, he grabbed James by the legs to kidnap him. But James's mom quickly grabbed her son and took him from Peter, running away to get out of the house. But she was shocked when she reached the door and found it locked from the outside. Someone had trapped them in. She ran back into the apartment to try the other door, holding a knife just in case the crazy guy showed up again. Unfortunately, she ran into the crazy man who cut off her hand with the knife. They kept fighting until Peter finally caught her and cut off her head too. After that, he went to James, put his hand on his cheek and said, "Come on, let's go NeverLand so you can play with me there." That's the place where he takes the kids. After about 20 years, from what happened, we see a completely different family. A father named John, a mother named Mary, their daughter Wendy, and their little son Michael. The family is sitting at the table for breakfast. After breakfast, Mary takes a letter and shows it to Wendy, saying, "This letter came for you," and Wendy says she read it. It turns out, the letter is from the University of London, where Wendy wants to go study, which means she'll be away from her family. Her mom doesn't like this at all because she doesn't want her to leave. But Wendy says, "It's my life, and I want to go. My fiancé is also studying there." Before she leaves, she notices a paper that says, "Happy birthday" for her little brother, and she realizes she forgot his birthday. So she quickly gets ready to celebrate his birthday and make it up to him. Since she forgot the date, she makes it up to him by offering to drive him to school. They get in the car together. But Michael, her brother, is upset because lately she hasn't been paying attention to him at all. She's only focused on her fiancé to the point that she forgot his birthday. Wendy realizes that one day he'll fall in love too and act the same way, but that doesn't mean she doesn't love him. On the contrary, he's more important than her fiancé. When she gets out, she meets her friend, who is exactly like her. And then Wendy goes to her job as a hairdresser, but she's late because she was busy with her brother. At the same time, we see the crazy guy named Peter with an old woman, and it's clear from the blood that her body is dismembered. At that moment, Peter says, "We have to start the mission now." This mission is to go to a school to kidnap kids. His first step is to get out of his house and go to a toy store to buy a mask so no one recognizes him. The shopkeeper tells him, "We're closing now. Come back tomorrow." He attacks the shopkeeper and stabs him with a knife until he's dead. Let's go now to Michael's school, where, by the way, his sister Wendy is waiting for him to come out so they can go together. At that moment, we notice that right next to the school there's a van parked that says, "Welcome to NeverLand." That's the name of the island the crazy man wanted to take James to, so it's clear this is the school he's planning to kidnap from. But Wendy isn't paying attention to these details because her fiancé suddenly appears and shocks her with his decision that he's not going to study in London as they agreed, because he's not ready to leave his family and friends. Wendy is very upset by what he says, but they keep talking and discussing until she completely forgets about her brother, who's now riding his bike home alone. Unfortunately, as Michael is riding, he finds a rope stretched across the road to trip him up. When he looks around to see who put the rope there, because it's obvious it was intentional, he finds someone behind him trying to kidnap him. And indeed, the man kidnaps him and throws him into the van. Meanwhile, his sister is extremely worried because Michael isn't upset at all, even though the school day is over, so she feels something happened to him. She goes into the school to ask, and they tell her he left a while ago. That's when she's sure something happened, because it's not like him to leave school without sending her a message. She tries to call him to check, but he can't answer because he's in a place with no signal. After a little while, we see Michael sitting on his bed, crying. At that moment, Peter came to him again and asked him to play hide and seek with him. And indeed, Michael agreed to play with him. He kept looking for him everywhere until he came out from among some very scary-looking mannequin dolls. At that moment, Michael was startled and grabbed the picture he had with his friend Jimmy. So Peter got the idea in his head to kidnap his friend too, so Michael wouldn't be alone here, and next time they could go to Neverland together. At the same time, Michael's family was completely devastated, especially Wendy. She also felt guilty because she wasn't paying attention to her brother when he left school and was focused on her fiancé who was talking to her. And while they were all devastated, they got a phone call. Wendy answered quickly. She asked the caller, "Who are you?" Strangely, no one answered at all. All she heard was music the caller was playing. At that time, Mary took the phone from her and was shocked when she heard the music, as if she knew what it meant, and she was sure when the caller answered and told her he would take her son and take him. At that moment, the mother couldn't believe what she heard and quickly left the house to look for her son everywhere. But after searching for a while and not finding him, she returned home even more devastated. Because she had known for a long time that Neverland was the place where all the kidnapped children ended up, and every family whose child was kidnapped gets the same call. A call that starts with music, and then the kidnapper tells them he will take them to Neverland. When Wendy found out about this, she went out with her friend Layla, who, by the way, is the sister of Jimmy, her brother's friend. So she went with her to a man in town who they said knew information about Neverland. They arrived at the man's house, and when they sat with him, he told them about his son who was kidnapped in the same way and told them he got the same call. He also told them that some people saw his son on the same day he was kidnapped, and then they found out exactly what happened. What happened was that a clown came up to him and gave him a balloon, and when he gave it to him, they got into a red car that had "Welcome to Neverland" written on it. That's exactly what happened, and that was a long time ago. Until now, his son hasn't returned. That's what we saw at the beginning of the movie. At the same time, something very strange happened. Michael's school bus broke down and stopped in the middle of the road. The bus driver got out and asked the first man he saw for help. It's the crazy Peter wearing his mask. He immediately killed the driver as soon as he approached him. But that wasn't all. He also got on the bus and told the children, "All of you kids are coming with me to Neverland." The kids were terrified and tried to hide everywhere. After a while, he killed all the children and threw them out of the bus. We learned this from Wendy's fiancé, who tells Wendy everything he saw on the road. On the other side, the old woman I told you about went to Michael to give him lunch. Michael asked her, "What are you doing with that crazy man named Peter?" She told him that her name is Tinkerbell and that she was a fairy, and she was the first one Peter chose to stay with him. Then she started saying crazy things. That wouldn't make sense to a small child. Michael asked her if he would go back to his family, because surely they were worried about him. When she heard the question, she immediately left the room without answering, then went to ask Peter, clearly afraid of him. She asked him, "Where do you really take these children, to Neverland?" Peter got very angry at her and grabbed her by the neck. He told her, "Don't ever ask that question again. It's none of your business." Suddenly, Peter heard a loud scream from outside the room. He grabbed his belt and went toward the sound. We are shocked to see it's the sound of a man Peter had imprisoned in his house. When he reached him, he beat him with his belt mercilessly. At the same time, Wendy went to Jimmy's family's house to spend the night with them. To her shock, Peter was already outside their house, holding Jimmy's picture in his hand. After a while, Peter got out of his car and went to Layla, Jimmy's sister, in her room and stabbed her repeatedly until she died. Meanwhile, Wendy entered her room to sleep, but after a while, she heard a sudden scream. She opened the door to see what was happening, but when she opened it, she saw a strange man stabbing Jimmy's father with a knife. She quickly closed the door and started packing her bag to leave. When she finished packing and was about to leave her room, she found Jimmy's mother in front of her, tied up. She asked her to untie her, but unfortunately, while she was doing that, Peter suddenly entered and strangled Jimmy's mother until she died. Wendy was lucky because she managed to hide from him. When he left, she saw him carrying Jimmy in his arms, so she decided to get in her car and follow him. When she followed him, she entered his house and hid in a closet to find out who he really was and what Neverland was. In the next room, we see Peter taking Jimmy to his friend Michael, and at that moment, he drew lots to decide who will go with him, and the one who won was Jimmy, who pulled him by the hand to go with him. At that moment, Michael preferred he holds him so that he does not go with him, so the old lady pushed him away and begged him not to stand in front of that man because he is evil and might defeat him in this room. We see Wendy come out of the closet to look for her brother, but when she goes to enter another room, she sees Bill denying it and says to her, "Who are you?" Wendy begged her not to tell that crazy man that she is here because she just wants to take her brother, nothing more. Indeed, Tim Kerr Bill let her enter the room where her brother is, and there Wendy finally took her brother in her arms. As for Tim Kerr Bill, she goes to Peter and asks him the same question again in NeverLand. And what is he doing with the boys there? Peter said to her, "Why are you asking me questions that don't concern you?" In the middle of their conversation, they heard a noise outside the room. He asked her who was in the house. She didn't answer, and it was clear she was very afraid of him. So, to find out what was happening, he quickly left to see who had entered his house. He went to Michael to check on him and found him in the room. He asked him, "Who was with you?" Michael said, "There's no one here but me." Peter replied and asked him, "Do you know what happens to those who lie? They won't go to NeverLand, the beautiful place." At that time, Wendy, who was hiding, actually freaked out. This crazy guy had it in his head, and at that moment he went completely mad. Her brother got out of the situation. At that point, she locked Peter in the room. He saw them, and Tinker Bell didn't catch them and just let them escape. And this will make Peter not leave her alone. And indeed, when Peter managed to get out of the situation and found out that Tinker Bell just let them go, he grabbed the knife and he tortured her. On the other side, Wendy heard a strange sound. She walked towards the sound and found it was coming from inside a grave in the basement of the house. When she opened it, she found Jimmy inside. She quickly got him out and helped him escape from that place, but told him that when he gets out, he must bring help with him. And indeed, Jimmy managed to get out of the house. When Wendy kept walking in this madman's basement, she saw the tortured man who had been beaten before. She was very shocked by his condition. She knew the police would come soon and rescue him. Meanwhile, the crazy Peter heard the sound of the tortured man, so he decided to go to him again. But it was Michael, who was hiding, who stabbed him in the leg with the knife so he couldn't walk again. But that wasn't the end. At that moment, he grabbed Wendy too. They kept fighting each other, beating each other until they nearly killed each other. But the one who really finished Peter off was Michael, who kept hitting him in the face until his whole face was badly injured. And the one who finished him off completely in the end was the tortured man, who finally got out of his prison to take revenge on him. And after that, finally, the crazy Peter died and life returned to normal again. As for Michael, he returned to his family safe and sound. And the first thing his family did when he came back was throw him a big birthday party to make up for what he went through on his birthday. But the strange thing here is that someone was calling him at that time. And when Wendy answered, she heard the same music she had heard from Peter when he called them before, and her brother was kidnapped. At that moment, she realized that Peter, who has 7 lives, unfortunately didn't die or anything. He will definitely come back to kidnap other children again. The movie ends. If you're watching, subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell. See you in the next video.